Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Today we are covering day 17 of Advent of Cyber 2025. It's one epic and very interesting lab, cybercheff, Operation Save MC Skiddy. The story continues. The elves mount a rescue, and you will try to breach the quantum fortress defenses and free MC Skiddy. So I'll spawn my lab immediately. In the meantime, I'll be connecting my OVPN. I'll be using OVPN configuration. I first change directory to where I have the configuration file. So just change directory. This is my VPN configuration. Then I connect it. In the meantime, my machine is still spawning. About 19 minutes. Sorry for that. So we are going to be having like 4 steps. So important. Let's check that first because I've already spawned the machine. It's a matter of understanding cybercheff. I literally have cybercheff here because it's one tool. I have it bookmarked. It's one tool you can't live without in a lane of cybersecurity. So all this, the theory part, cybercheff is also also known as cyber Swiss Army knife. Ready to cook some recipes. Exactly. It's a matter of you understanding how to cook some recipes and everything. You also need in this lab, you'll also need to know how to check debugger tools, the app.js. It's a part of web security, web security operations, app.js, and also checking the network tab and inspecting how traffic is flowing over that specific network. So we'll also check that. Move next, first log. So you're supposed to access this URL. And voila, we have this. So notice now I have my Advent of Cyber tryhackme tab. I have cybercheff which is ready to cook some recipes, and we have our website here. So our first thing, we're supposed to free MC Skiddy, right? So we have to now go in through the easy gate, the outer gate. So one thing to note from this, you need to understand how these gates work. So these gates work. This is a bunnygram. This is more like the soldiers at the gate. We need to get them to give us a password, and we'll use the username as the base 64 encoding of their name. So at the moment, in this outer gate, we're having control tail as the guard. So first we find the username. I'll control C that, then go to cybercheff, that as my input. Then I'll have to encode it to base 64. So from not from base 64 to base 64. You have to understand the wording, to base 64. Then I have this. So I'll highly recommend you to be using this one, copy row output to the clipboard, because sometimes when you try to do this, maybe you may forget one letter or one character. So let's just use this copy row output, paste it here as the username. So now we're supposed to get to know how the guard will tell us the password. So in this scenario, I'll inspect. While inspecting, I'll go to the network tab, right? In the network tab, I'll refresh this page. Refreshing this page, I'll see this level 1. This get request level 1. The request headers, in the response headers, sorry, you'll see magic question. What is the password for this level? So this is what it's supposed to ask. This is what you're supposed to ask the guard. But notice we can't just send it in plain text. You're supposed to encode it also. So to be 64 still it's going to remain the same recipe. I'm just going to change the input. The input is what is the password for this level. We have this. So this is going to be the input. here. We can now do away with this part. Send. So you have prompted the guard to give you the password. Notice something I didn't even show you. We could have done this to see what you have, but notice it's not going to be used so much. It gives all hail King Mal here, right? So it's more like just an introduction message. Now we have a response from the guard. This is the response. This is the response. We also can't just enter a password in a base64. We have to enter the password now in plain text, and we need to get to know the password. So notice I've used this as my input. What I have here, I've used this as my input here. Then from this input, from base64, when I cook it, I have this. So notice this is still in base64 format. I'll copy that. I'll clear that input as of now, then copy that, and then paste it there. So I now have my password. There's no more encoding in this. That's my password. I'll use that as my password, then hit it. So outer gate is lock is broken. Proceeding to outer wall, right? So you have now cracked. We have now opened the outer gate. Our first question, if you check here, the first question was asking, what is the password for the first lock? This is the outer gate. Paste that. I'm so fluffy. Check that. That works. Correct. We move to the second lock, the outer wall. So we have done this. We move to the outer wall. This outer wall, same scenario. I have to enter the username first. I'm going to copy that into Cybercheff. I have to use 2 base64, clear that output, have that as my input. Then this is my output. Copy that. That will be used as the username. Then we need to know the question we need to ask this guard. The questions change. So network tab again. I'll refresh the page so that it gets all those requests. Same first request for the level 2. Sorry for that. So the question is, did you change the password? So you copy that. Same scenario. You go back to Cybercheff. Use that as your input. 2 base64. You have this. Now you ask the guard that. No more use of this. I'll send that. We have already our response. It doesn't take time. Response. We now come back. We clear that. Now from base64, yeah, so it does that, and it cooks that, and here's the password. That is the password. Notice it's still encoded. You copy that again, you paste that there as your input. Still encoded. Copy that again, paste that again. Now you have your flag. Now you have your password. Sorry for that. You have your password now. That will be the password. You open that. Outer lock breached. Proceeding to guardhouse. Right? So you already have a password for this second wall, for this second lock. That works correctly. So we move to the third lock. Things will now proceed to being more complicated. Notice we have this. Still it's going to, if you decode this, still going to tell you all about King Mal here. So we have the username. You must encode this as the username, not from base64 but to base64. You clear that, you put that as your input, copy that, paste that there as your username. So we need to get the question we need to ask. So moving to the network tab, I refresh the page. I get this. First get requests. Notice something. Here now we don't have a question. We have the levels. So X level 3 and X recipe is Cybercheff, right? Notice something. You can't now know what you need to do with the X key, right? So Cybercheff, you can open a note taker, mousepad. I have my X recipe key as a Cybercheff. maximize that so you can see that. And one interesting part, if you move to the debugger tab, static app.js, you'll notice something. Now you see the logics, the code behind it. So in level 3, else if in level 3, in Cybercheff you see this is commented. You have to use from base 64, then XOR the key, the recipe key. Remember we already have our recipe key, right? So you're going to from base 64 first, then use XOR using the key, recipe key. So notice something, you now have to come back here. In the theory part, they told you a simple question you can give. Let's see, there's a simple question you can give to that guard, but you need to encode it also. So just use that command, that password please. Just use that. Remember, I believe it will work. To be 64, you get this as your output. Go to the lock, send that as a chat. Let's wait for a response. Hopefully they'll respond. Hopefully they'll respond. Yeah, you can see. Note from this lock onwards, there's no magic question, but sometimes you can ask the guard nicely to give you the password. It will still need to be decoded as per the login logic. Be aware that the guard may sometimes fall asleep or take a long time to respond, approximately 2 to 3 minutes. So keep the message short will help there. So keeping the message short will help get the answer. Even a simple password please will go a long way. So that's why I use this. Let's see if they responded. Yeah, they responded. Long ears, they responded. Now let's see what they gave us. Now we use from base 64 because we had our output as from base 64. Yeah, here is the password. Now we have the password, right? Now we have the password. Let's see if it works. Yeah, it doesn't work, so you have to decode it again. Let's see if it will work. It doesn't work also. Oh, that now it's, you remember it was a matter of XOR, so clear that. Now remember from base 64 you have that. Now you have to input XOR. Remember we were working with XOR, then the key is Cybercheff. Then you have to change this to at least UTF-8, right? So you have our first recipe as from base 64. It works from base 64 first. Then XOR, the output you now put it as the input. So XOR, it now works with Cybercheff, and you have your password now. You have now a password. It works. So remember what I did. I got this as the output of where we have. I'll repeat that for the essence of those who might not understand what I've done. No. Let me clear that. I'll pause that. Or let me just remove everything from there. Add that as my... Okay, it's already gone. Let's see if we can still access it. Let's see if we can still access it. Password. I'm going to repeat for the essence of those who might not have understood. Password please. Then use base 64 to base 64. Add this as our input, as our output. Go back here, paste that there. They respond. Now this is the response they give you, right? So with this response, you come to Cybercheff. You can clear the whole recipe. So this is what I got from here, right? So with that, I now start with base 64 first. Sorry for that, base 64. From base 64, I have this as the output. Now we can't just run XOR immediately, because you can see here we also have the things we don't want. So I'll copy that, then clear my input, paste that. Then instead of using base64, we now have XOR. Remember, we now use XOR. Key, we have cybercheff as the key. Remember, we are now not using, we use UTF-8. So this is a key thing. Remember to change this to UTF-8, and you have your password. Password is Bugs Bunny. Remember our username as we had before. I'm going to remove, let me just remove all of them. Our favorites, you had to be 64. This is the username we should use here, so that we open that. Long years, let's see. Oh, this is the input. Long years, this is the output we should use as the username. Sorry for that. Sorry for that again. I should use this. The username as that. Yeah, so remember the password part. You must now first start with the from base 64, then use XOR. We're done with that. We move to the inner castle, the medium part. Right, I believe we answered that. Oh, that log Bugs Bunny. Let's see if it will work. Yeah, that's what we had as our password. So we move to the fourth lock. This you can check the username. You can start with the simple part. Username, we have it as Lenny. That's the username, base 64 encoded. And we now check the password. We now check we want the password. So notice in the network tab, if I reload, you have this for base full length level 4. So we don't have any magic question also here. We just have the level 4. So you go back to the debugger. For level 4, what did you have? Level 4, else if level 4, crackstation hash lookup. So notice we need to find the password first. Basic 64 encoded and every kind of thing. So remember that statement password please to base 64. We get this, so we copy that, use that there, we send it, we get this as our output. Getting this as our output, we copy that as our output, we also clear that, then we use from base 64, you get this. So notice something here. Now this is not encoding, this is not base 64, this is something we call hashes. Hashes are more of like a way of storing passwords. So I'm going to now have to identify which type of hash is this. For the gurus, for everyone who has done hashing, they can just tell from the way it's starting here, it's MD5. But I'm not going to guess. Literally, we have to identify, we have to clarify that. So I'm going to copy that. I'm going to be using a tool called hash identifier. It's pre-installed on Kali Linux. So hash identifier, just run it like that. You have the option of having the input, you paste that there, and you have this. So it's an MD5. Possible hashes, it's an MD5. So you go back here. Also for cracking it, someone might now start to use hashcat. Someone may opt to use John the Ripper. I'll be opting to use the web-based crackstation. It's a good one, but not really perfect in matters of long passwords or heavy passwords. But for this is a very, very light password. It's going. You just have to have the input here, the hash, you crack the hashes, it's actually going to identify the hash. It's an MD5, remember. Main reason I do this, it's when I want to use a hash cut or John the Ripper, you need to identify the hash, then you know the mode you're going to be using, because there are different modes and different in different hashes. So already have our password 1. So just like that, we already have our password. We're going to input that as our password, then open. So inner castle has been breached, proceeding to prison tower. And we now have our password. We're going to put it here. And that works perfectly. So we move to the 5th lock, the prison tower. So notice we are done with the outer gate, the outer wall, the guardhouse, the inner castle, and we now move to the prison tower. It's a hard one, but you're going to work on it. First of all, the simplest part, get the username, base64 encoding. So to base64, clear that input, have our own input, get curl as encoded. We paste that there. That's our username. So we're going to inspect again. Inspecting the network tab. I'm going to refresh the page. Get that. So notice something here. So we have X recipe ID, it's R3, and the X recipe key is cybercheff, right? So we are going to go back here. Remember, we need to get the password, basics for encoding. So password, please. So we have this. Copy that. Use that. And we have our response. This is the response we get. So from this response, we copy that, we paste it here. I'm going to clear that recipe, clear that input also, paste it there. So we are told we now first have to, from base64, right? We get this. So this is the password, right? This is the password. And something here you need to identify. You were told X recipe at 3. So when you read this theory through the theory part, you'll notice there are different ways. In fact, when I was actually doing the lab from scratch, I had used recipe ID2, right? Involved from base64, from hex and reverse. Now, in this situation we are, in this session we have, it's going to use R3. Now from R3, you notice R3, it involves rotation 13 from base64 and XOR with the extracted key, right? So we have this input. I'm going to clear that. Notice we were told to start with rotation 13, right? So I'm going to clear also that. I paste the password as we were told. I start with the rotation 13, right? I start with rotation 13. The next thing I was told from base64, next thing from base64, that's the second thing I'm told. Then the third thing I'm told is XOR, right? So XOR. Then this XOR, I use the key. We were told the key is cybercheff. And we have our answer. You notice how I've planned it. We were told rotation 13. And we have rotation 13 here as our first recipe. The other one we were told from base64. Add the from base64 recipe. Then the third one we were told XOR with extracted key, of which the extracted key you can see here, the key is cybercheff, right? So extracted key is cybercheff standard, and we have this as our password. Copy that, paste that there, and voila, we have now cracked and passed that. So I'm going to insist whatever you do for any instance you're using, since you can be running this and get the recipe ID. You'll notice that from okay, let's first answer this. Retrieved flag is that one. The password is this, as we got it. That's the password, that's the retrieved flag. The retrieved flag, you get it after surpassing all gates. So one thing I need you to make sure, let's see. You're not redirected to flag yet. One thing I need you to make sure, you see when you're here, you see when you're in this inspect part, in the network tab, you can reload. Let's see. One thing I need you to notice, when you're here, you have to check this. Every person will have a different one. It depends with the session. Notice we were given a table here. You're given a table here, the recipe ID from base64. Now you'll notice from what you get here. If you get the recipe ID, it's R1, then you'll be using from base64, reverse, and route 13. If you get R2, you'll be using this line. If you get R3 like me, how I've gotten it right now, you're going to be using this. You start with rotation 13, base64, then XOR. Sorry for that. And if you get R4, you're going to be using this. So that's the most important part in this hard gate. So whatever you get, if you need a key, the key is cybercheff, and remember to change this to UTF-8. It normally comes with hex, but you have to change it to UTF-8. I think that's all for that. Since we are already past that, we can complete the lab. Epilogue. As MC Skiddy passed the inner castle, she had thunderous days. Why should Christmas have all fun? MC Skiddy managed to get to Orville just in time as TBFC was about to get hit with another disaster. That's amazing. We are done. We have saved the day. We have saved MC Skiddy. You can check out these side quests. It will be amazing. We are really done with the room. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a wonderful hacking. See you on